entertained that you have managed to somehow
I'm gonna die, like,
almost
immediately.
die on your first jump in FTL.
Again, this is...
You really need to send someone to your oxygen
I know!
room.
I don't remember how to move people!
You just need to click the room, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so I click the room.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
I don't think it can be paused. I might be wrong. It's also been a long time since I've played FTL as well.
Please. Okay, you.
Yes.
Go here. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
I
See,
got it.
he went there, and now he's going to...
And now he's going to fix all
He's
of
going
the
to
things.
unfire the room.
So...
Now all the doors are screwed.
Now all the doors are screwed.
Now people are going to have to, like, ratchet them open.
Yeah. So this pirate is kicking the crap out of me. So I think we're just going to do a leave.
Can
Bye.
you? Oh, hey, you had a jump available.
Yep.
I don't even know why you were still...
Audi 5000. Our weapon systems are malfunctioning and we're too afraid. Nope. Sorry. I gotta
we
take care of
cannot
myself.
escort you.
Yep. You. Fix that.
It's unsafe.
You. Fix that. Oh, God.
Well, at least you didn't completely lose your oxygen.
No, but I think somebody died.
What's his...
How did you die?
Probably lack of oxygen.
Oh, probably.
Just saying.
Oxygen is fixed. There we go. I know
we
I have
can
vision.
breathe again, guys.
I don't know how he died.
He died badly. And sadly.
So we were 2 jumps in on FTL.
We were 1
and
jump
I've already
in.
sorry,
This
one
is
jump.
the second jump.
We are 1 jump in, and I've already lost a crewmate.
It did not go well.
Most of my...
Is there a hard mode at all?
I'm on easy.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Beamdog live stream. It is August 31st.
And we're good at video games.
And we're good at video games. Just because we make video games doesn't mean that we're great at all of them.
Just
right?
We test video games doesn't mean we're good at all of them.
Exactly.
All right, we're going to try one more. I think everybody... Oh, no, hang on. You need to go hang out in here for a little bit so that you don't die.
So if you were expecting Trent, as you very well probably should have been, considering the Twitter.
I can be Trent.
She can be Trent today.
Yes,
this is Kristin. And I am Phil, Enhanced Edition, also known as Luke. And yeah, we're live. We're doing things.
Jumping places.
We work for this company. All right.
Most
so
days,
yes,
right?
It's true. So why don't we just jump right into it, guys? Hello.
Hello.
Do they have 2 mics active? Are we having problems?
Uh-oh. Are hardly alive.
Hardly alive. Can you hardly hear us? This is not good.
That's not great.
Technical issues.
Possibly. We have possibly been having
Sounds like Merman from He-Man. That's not good.
I'm okay with that, actually.
Merman, you imbecile!
Oh no! So our beloved Dan is actually out this week.
Yes.
So we are running on. We are the Beamdog B team.
Yes.
Basically.
Very much so.
Please forgive us our technical impasses. We might actually be having network issues.
Yep.
We're not sure yet. Bad contact with the plug or something. Uh-oh.
We played with them.
We did.
Are both of the mics bad? Or is it just this one or this one?
Or this one. Blame Dan's absence. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
If you try turning it off, yeah, why don't we just do that right in the
okay. Bye!
Thanks, Div. Both are bad. Okay, so it's probably over there.
Okay, so it's probably...
Pay our internet bills. Don't you tell me how to live my life.
Oh.
All right.
We're just piggybacking off the Starbucks downstairs.
Sorry.
Way cheaper.
Oh, boy. Well, we're just going to try this out. And, so let's start off with some news. PAX West. We are at PAX, not us.
No.
But other people from the company, Trent and Lee and Sarah.
Yep.
And a few other folks are over at PAX. Are you there? Are you going there? If you are, you will see them tomorrow. We have a panel going on. It's going to be pretty awesome.
I'm very excited to watch. There's some things happening.
Yes.
And it's very exciting.
You
so
may
if you
hear
haven't
about
already,
things that we're not going to talk about today.
No, we're not allowed. Trent did threaten to
Well, I mean, you don't really
punches
want
from
to.
across the country.
Trent will just punch the earth and it'll
Yeah,
come up
it'll
to the
come up
bottom
and
of
get
the
us.
table.
But yeah, so if you
He
haven't
could do
already,
it. That man is beefy.
He is. I have no doubts. So RSVP to the live stream on the Eventbrite or Facebook events. They should be on the Beamdog, I believe.
Yep, that information is readily available on the Beamdog. Also, if you are not at PAX, don't worry, we are streaming the panel live, so you will get 2 days of Beamdog stream in a row.
With hopefully better luck than we are currently having.
Yes. It will not be us that time.
No, you can blame someone else that time.
Yeah.
Also not Dan.
Also not Dan, because he's not doing that one. Okay. Yeah, but RSVP to live stream or Eventbrite, yes, so that we can know that you're going to be there. Also, during PAX West, during tomorrow's event, we do have a contest, so you can watch the stream on Twitch for a chance to win a personalized character portrait for the Beamdog Enhanced Edition games, Neverwinter or various other games, like Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale.
Very, very talented portrait artists.
Yes, we've already had one created, which is up on that screen right now, which is...
Andrew is also currently on fire trying to figure out the microphone, so this is slightly less
Hey, we're doing it live! Alright. Yes, so if you are on Twitch, we will be choosing a viewer at random to receive this custom portraiture. And also
me! If you are at PAX West and you ask the panel a question during the Q&A time, you will also be entered for a chance to win. So either way, if you're not there, if you are there, everybody's got a chance to win this.
Indeed.
It's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited to see what we get out of it, honestly. The last one turned out so good. I love
beautiful.
The little bat in the
great.
corner. It's so good.
I'm hoping I can get one done myself at some point.
I did.
I think I'd make a good, half orc, right?
I mean, I think you could rock a pair of tusks.
There you go.
Just straight up.
Yeah.
That'd be dope.
I'm waiting for the future of Shadowrun to happen so I can goblinize it. Okay, so also, if you are not going to PAX but you are local to the Edmonton area, we are going to the Edmonton Expo from the weekend of September 21st to 23rd. So if you are coming to the area, swing by. We have a booth. We're going to be there to say hello and to possibly show you something interesting. We're bringing some stuff that you may not have had the chance to touch yet, so
Yep.
It'll be cool.
So we were there last year. I was actually there a little bit last year, and it was really cool having people come and talk to us. Because I mean, we don't really get to talk to people a whole lot. Some of us, I mean, Trent and Phil and Lee, all get to talk to people on the regular, but the rest of us that get kept in, the closets, sometimes we get to talk to real people. I mean,
yes,
it's not a closet.
No,
it's
an
a
office.
big room.
Yes,
that's just too
full of people. Speaking of too full of people, we are moving our offices pretty soon too, which is going to be pretty awesome. And to go together with that, because we'll have more space, that means we'll have more open chairs, which means we're hiring.
Always.
If you are a web developer, a programmer, a technical artist, or an HR specialist, then we are looking for you, quite possibly. The jobs are up on the Beamdog website, so please take a look.
Yep.
Make an application, and you'll have to work in Edmonton, so buy a parka.
Yeah. And you probably don't have to buy a hat. We have a lot.
We have a lot.
Phil was very kind in that he left us his box of hats, so I think
you could wear a Phil hat.
Yeah, you could wear not a literal Phil hat as in one that he has put on his head, because I don't think anybody wants to wear that. But I think we have enough that we could probably make it standard issue for new employees.
There you go.
Yeah.
Give everybody one of those stream hats that I was wearing last week.
I like those. Those are real good.
One more piece of marketing news. There is a new comic by Jim Zub that came out this week called Evil at Baldur's Gate #5, which is a solo story focusing on everybody's favorite miniature miniature giant space hamster, Boo, from the Baldur's Gate series. So if you want to check that out, it should be available, released by IDW, and sold at all major comic book retailers.
It kind of blows my mind that that is a solo comic that has been made.
Hey!
And I'm so excited to go find it.
It's going to be great.
Sounds really good. I'm excited.
All right. So, should we move on to some Infinity Engine news?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
Look at that.
There is some Infinity Engine news.
I know, right? So,
A little bit.
first one, very simple, 2.5 is out. If you weren't already aware of that, we released it a couple weeks ago on most platforms. Baldur's Gate, Siege of Dragonsphere, and Icewind Dale have been updated to version 2.5.17 and are available pretty much everywhere except for the Mac App Store right now, which is underway. We are working on the builds as we speak, and those should be in your hands.
Yes, I literally just got them this morning, so we will give them a quick run through our smoking process, make sure that they are chef's kiss, and then get them out to you guys. I think was the plan next week.
Next week.
I think. I mean, you know.
Yep.
As long as nothing goes wrong.
Well, yeah. So hopefully we will be able to finish QAing the builds next week, making sure that if you launch it from the Mac Store, it doesn't cause your house to catch on fire or something like that. And then,
we should hope.
From that point, we will submit it to Apple for review.
Yep.
And if everything works out well, it'll be in your hands pretty soon. Beyond that, we are also working on updating Baldur's Gate 2.
Yes.
Pretty soon.
We had a ton of requests on the forums, on social media for BG2 to get the 2.5.17 update. We have seen those.
Yes.
I don't know what the plan is.
Yeah. So the idea is right now, so Baldur's Gate 2 exists in version 2.5.16 everywhere.
Yes.
Except for the Mac App Store. So since we were going to be doing a new build on Mac App Store anyway, because that version is like multiple years old at this point, the question was, do we bump it up to 2.5.16 to be the same as every other game, or do we do another run of builds to get the IE patches that were done for Baldur's Gate 2 or for every other game on the Infinity Engine into Baldur's Gate 2, so we're looking into doing that. It'll take some time because we have to go and make sure that all of the new stuff for Baldur's Gate 2 works.
Yep.
So Christina and her team. Kristin.
I'm
sorry.
Kristin. So we have a Christina and a Christina.
Yes. One has an A at the end and the other one doesn't.
And a Christina on the QA team.
Yep.
Because
we were both on the QA team too.
We are both on the QA team, so we make it really hard on people.
Yeah. I'm streaming. I'm bad at talking at the same time as I stream.
We also at one point had 4 marks, which was unreasonable.
Yeah. If you join Beamdog and you share a name with somebody that is already here, there will be a number appended to the end of your name. Yep.
Basically.
And if you are a Mark, you could be a Mark 4 or a 5, depending.
I think we've had a request that the current Mark, who is Mark 3, wants to stay as Mark 3.
There you go.
We might
so
have
that one's claimed.
Futz with the numbering system.
Yeah, so beyond Baldur's Gate 2 updates, we are also currently looking into releasing a tool that we had talked about previously. This was also mentioned in last week's stream, but there is a tool that was created for our pipeline while we were doing Siege of Dragonsphere called the Bammer, as well as the Palater, I believe, is the other half of that. But basically, yeah,
we need to work on our naming convention.
Hey, if it does what it says on the box, right? So you can basically take a 3D model and by putting it into this, you can get all of your characters' poses, exported into a massive sprite sheet, which is then run through the paletter in order to create a palette that will work with the Infinity engine, and then that is further exported into a BAM file, which will hopefully make everybody's life easier if you are creating art assets for Infinity Engine for your mods.
Yes. Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah, it still needs some updates to it. We had it working with Siege of Dragonsphere, but that was a while ago, so we want to make sure that it is in good shape to go into your hands while we're at it.
Yeah. I'm excited, honestly.
Yeah.
I think we might see some really cool stuff coming out of the community if they have access to this.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, beyond that, we are also looking into getting the Road to 2.0 portraits into the games that they are not currently in.
Yes.
We released them on the forums, and they're available for download for free, essentially. But those of you who are on the iOS or Android, it's a little bit harder to get Portrait Pack into those right now. So what we're going to be doing is integrating the Road to 2.0 portraits into the next build of those games, which you will be happy to hear is not going to be a year down the line. And yeah, you'll have access to those pretty soon.
Yeah. There's also some weirdness, like they are in... There's like a combination of on Steam where they are available if you have SOD installed, but they're not if you don't, or the other way around.
Right. So there's some combination of having Siege of
kind of
Dragonsphere where they're either not in or they're in but not in Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
But either way, we're going to standardize that and get them into all of the Infinity Engine games.
Because they're really nice.
They are.
We want everybody to have access to
very
them.
cool. Yeah. We want to improve voice sets. We want to improve art.
Yep.
For portraits and what have you. Yeah. So that'll be good. And on that point, actually, for those of you who are interested in Infinity Engine development, there was talk when we released 2.5 that was going to be the last thing that you saw from Infinity Engine for a very long time. But after doing some evaluation, 2.5 still has some bugs, so we are going to be making continued improvements. We're looking at bug fixing right now. There's a lot of smaller data bugs and things like that we just couldn't get to before 2.5 went out the door. So,
I mean, we got 1,600 fixes in. That was a colossal amount of work.
Absolutely.
But I mean, there's always going to be something that falls through the cracks, unfortunately. Like, these games are so big.
Yeah.
And fixing one thing tends to break other things that just... They don't even necessarily have to be in the same area.
Yeah, in a smaller or in an older engine where there are members of the team here that are familiar with the engine and have used it, but this is not like the original Baldur's Gate team in its entirety coming through and just going. Yeah. Well, even if it was 20 years ago.
Well, the Infinity Engine is finicky enough that I think we would still be running into stuff like this.
Absolutely. But so those 1,600 fixes took a while to fix, but they are they're out as 2.5, and so we will be adding more.
Yeah. And I mean, we've already got a couple on the shelf that are kind of exciting.
Yes. Yeah, there's some cool stuff coming down the line. Bug fixes, and just some data, and just kind of fixing rules, problems, things that were implemented incorrectly, and so on.
Yeah. So if you are running into bugs on 2.5, please let us know on the public bug reports. Public bug reports. They are the fastest, easiest way for our QA team to get our eyes on them. Mm-hmm. I know that lots of people post them in the forums, which is okay, but like the fastest way for us to get on them is to put them in the public bug tracker. We have people trawling those every day. Shout out to Richard Hilton. You're a hero. Please continue doing everything that you're doing.
Yeah. That's support.beamdog.com.
Yes. So support.beamdog.com. Let us know what you're seeing, and we will do our best to try to get a fix in as soon as possible.
All right. Good. So that's Infinity Engine news. Let's move on to Neverwinter. But do we want to give something away before we start?
Are we gonna give something away, Mr. Dan Replacement?
I believe we are.
I believe we are.
Toro_NYC. Is that New York City? Possibly.
Assuming.
Toro, you won yourself a shirt.
Congratulations.
So congratulations. We will get in touch with you. All right. Good stuff. Congratulations.
That's the Neverwinter t-shirts.
These guys right here.
That one right there.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I've got
nice rendering of the Neverwinter eye.
Yep. I've got my Icewind shirt on today because
this is the only Beamdog shirt I own yet. You see, because I'm new to the company.
We should go raid the closet and get you some more shirts.
I think they may not have shirts in my size right now.
I don't think that's true.
Boy. What you gonna do? Neverwinter news. Yes, the GOG build update. I bet you're wondering about that, huh? So, what is going on with GOG? Well, right now we are sorting out the last steps on rich presence support. What that means is rich presence, if you're not quite familiar with it, it is one of the features that GOG has. It allows you to click to join your friends that are on your friends list. It will also render your friends list in the in-game window. And display information about what server they're playing on, for example. So it should make the matchmaking and multiplayer experience quite a bit more intuitive and easy for players. No having to call them up on your landline,
type in their IP address,
and all of those things. It should be quite a bit easier to use.
1990. Sorry. Quick interruption. Niv asked that we show the mouse pad. So that's our mouse pad. It keeps us happy during streams. It's a kitty.
We have a few of those actually.
We do.
I've seen those around the office. I don't have one yet, but
somebody,
there's
just for you.
You come into our office also, somebody had a kitten tear off day by day calendar. They're pinned up all over the office.
It was
great.
Phil. Phil had the cat calendar, and if you came to your desk one morning and there was a cat calendar picture, you know that Phil had visited you in the night to gift you with a cat tear out.
Yes, his legacy lives on.
We will be finding those until we move out of the... I suspect, actually, we will find those in the new office. Somehow.
Phil will return in the night.
Yes, to gift us with cat pictures, which I'm okay with.
He'll just Spider-Man up the wall.
I mean, it's brick on the outside. He could totally do that. That wouldn't even be hard.
Oh, man. All right.
Yes. Sorry.
No worries. Hey, we go off the rails all the time here. We have fun. All right. Yes. Also, one more thing on the GOG side. So we are also looking at changing the way that our builds deploy multi-language on GOG. Since GOG supports custom per-language installers, which is not something that we had previously. What that means is for your multi-language build of Neverwinter Nights, instead of being a whopping 10 gigabyte download, we can probably pare that down to something like 4.
Save your hard drives.
Which should be good, hopefully. All right, so let's move on. We are also going to, let's take a quick couple of questions from the community about Neverwinter Nights. So what do we have here? Would a do melee attack / do ranged attack function that takes attack bonuses, manual override, and linked effects be possible? Right now there's only touch attack functions. So yes, in order to do that, we would need to add a scripting function that adds these kind of attacks to the action queue, which is doable, but it's not something that has an active ticket right now.
Get it on the Trello. Get it on the forums.
Let us know if that's something that is a high priority for you guys, and we can get a ticket in, and we can have that looked at.
That would be, that'd be really interesting. I'd be curious to see what kind of form you guys would actually like that to take. But yeah, get it on the forums, get it on the Trello, let us know.
Yep. We'll take a look.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Do you want to do one more?
Sure.
All right, Neverwinter, when do we get a more decent max number of bones per skin mesh?
Okay, so the Bones for Skin Mesh thing. This has been
Yeah.
up for a while. This is something that people have wanted because it's going to open up just better and more detailed models. So we are actively looking into this. We have people that are on the job for this one. Progress has been made, but I don't have a specific ETA yet because there could be some code-related technicalities that we'd have to get around.
Yep. I suspect that's going to be a Pandora's box of funness that we're going to hand to Jason. Here you go. Merry Christmas. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. Jason has looked at it, and
love you,
but yeah,
Jason.
I don't want to overpromise here on anything, but yeah, it is something that we are poking at.
All right. Well, we've lost our questions page, so I can shuffle along.
Okay, yeah. So some additional Neverwinter Enhanced Edition news. We do have the Faces of Good and Evil portrait pack, which was originally rolled out for some of the Infinity Engine games.
Yep.
So that is going to be added to Neverwinter Nights because it's always nice to have additional portraits.
And I mean, we have them; they're gorgeous, so we might as well.
Yep. And in the opposite direction, we have the Heroes of Neverwinter, which are going to be ported to our IE titles.
So we're just sort of cross-pollinating all of our portrait packs as much as we can.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, the more customization you can have on your character, the better your role-playing experience is going to be.
That's right.
And I guess we kind of like people to enjoy their role-playing experiences.
Who would have thunk it?
A little bit. Also, I'm excited because, I mean, testing the IE games, I use the portraits a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited to have some new stuff to do my smoke tests with.
For those of you who aren't familiar what a smoke test is.
Oh! So we don't just sit around and, like, light the build on fire, I promise. No. I know exactly what hand motion you just did, and so pulling back the curtain a little bit on the QA side of things, what a smoke test is basically a sanity check to make sure that nothing on the build has broken in the last little bit. So what we do is we go in, we start a new game, and we try to hit every single major system to make sure that we can continue moving forward with testing because there isn't something that is incredibly, like, blatantly on fire that will prevent other testing. So, for example, in Icewind Dale, running the smoke test is basically going from the start of a new game all the way up to after the Avalanche and Kuldahar Pass, because that hits, like, you get into combat, you cast a spell, you rest it in, rest on the game map, buy some stuff, sell some stuff. Again, just hitting sort of all of the high points.
Do at least one of everything that you would typically do in the course of a game.
Exactly. So that's what I'm talking about when I say a smoke test.
Yeah. So basically, every single time that we create a new build, Kristin and her team,
a real build,
one that we're planning, one that's a release candidate, not like every nightly, but
every nightly. That would be all we did all day.
So we send them over to your team, and the game gets played, and then that is one of the steps between just finishing all of the code work and actually getting it out to the platforms for release. So fun fact about 2.5, when we were trying to get the release candidate out, however many weeks ago it was, we had a release candidate, we smoked the build, and we found a critical issue, and we were like, oh, okay, shoot. So we sent it back. We get a new one, get a new build with a fix in, and we're like, great, awesome, verify, that fix is gone, that's great, find a new one. It's just like, it was Sisyphean. Yeah, every time we thought we were going to be able to push out a new one, some weird edge case comes up where it's like, the chance of somebody running into this is fairly slim, but if they do, it's going to crash their game and potentially lose a few hours of progress, and that's not something that we want to do to you guys. So it's a problem. So that is one of the reasons why we had a few weeks in a row where it was basically start a build, be pretty sure we're close to shipping, and then we're another week out from shipping. So that's life for you. That's video game development.
Yeah, we were, 1% away from being able to release a build for about 3 weeks, which was shout out to our wonderful programmer, Seth and Scott.
Yep.
And every time I walked over to his desk, I could see Seth breaking a little more on the inside. I'm sorry.
Hey, it's out the door now.
It's
But there are more fixes on the way, as
always more
previously
fixes.
mentioned. So there you go.
Always more.
Yep. So we're making progress on Neverwinter Enhanced Edition there for Android in particular, although development is being done on all fronts. As we mentioned, the GOG build is sort of the major focus for the core Neverwinter team right now. But Neverwinter Mobile is going ahead full steam, and the next major focus right now is UI.
Yes, which has been, I think, one of the most requested features.
Yes.
Not the most requested.
Yeah, unfortunately, UI has always been kind of one of the hard points for Neverwinter to do properly. We could go very in depth on the way that the UI system was originally created and so on, but suffice it to say, it's fairly rigid right now and difficult to work with, and sort of requires you to keep everything at very specific sizes. So in the previous enhanced editions, we allowed like 2x scaling of UI elements and things like that. But we're working on adding 9-slice support to buttons and things like that, so that you can actually resize elements. We're looking at all of the technical knock-ons that could potentially have to artwork, because we don't want it to look muddy as all heck. But that's something that we are looking into right now. So for all of you people who have been hoping that you can do some decent modding of Neverwinter UI, this is one of those major features for Android that should help the main build as well, ultimately.
Has there been any news on TrueType font? Or is that
TrueType font is either done or close to done.
Sweet.
So that is actually what has finally enabled us to make this hard run on UI.
Yeah.
So great stuff.
TrueType
Right
font.
there.
Although, I mean, I don't remember who showed me, but it was a couple of weeks ago when they were first getting that in, and somebody changed all of the font in game to Comic Sans.
Why not?
Because
There'll be a mod for it. It'll happen.
no, I don't wanna.
Hey, we're not gonna give you the Comic Sans mod. But if you guys really want one, some enterprising modder will probably take care of that for you. So
Probably.
yeah, there you go.
I'm just gonna change everything to Papyrus and pretend that I'm playing in like actual Elvish.
You get the Diablo font, and imagine you're playing Neverwinter Diablo.
That would be so cool.
Okay.
Somebody should do that. That would be great.
Yes. Questions from the audience. Are there still plans to allow custom classes and spellbooks in Neverwinter Nights? Yes, that is on the docket. We have an initiative to open up the rules and make them more flexible, and classes and spellbooks will be a part of that. There are other things that are currently higher on our list of priorities,
Like crashes.
like getting GOG done,
64-bit,
and so
all that
on,
good stuff.
64-bit support. But rest easy knowing that rules flexibility work is in the pipe.
Here's one that I am excited about. Will the toolset allow multiple assets to be accessible at the same time, i.e. scripts, area, placeable properties, etc.?
Yep. So we've experimented with making object editors non-modal, and the estimation that I've got is that it should be fairly easy to do without breaking other things. But our toolset features are mostly the realm of one coder that knows the toolset particularly well, so we have to budget his time accordingly.
And that's Victor.
Yep.
Virus Man.
Virus Man Babenko.
Victor, please.
Virus Man, you're awesome.
Yes.
Without you, it would make toolset work a lot more, close to impossible. So, not impossible, but we could have somebody.
That was one thing. So, I mean, I didn't grow up with Neverwinter. It was something I came to a lot later in life. But we did a lot of classes on it in university, which was really cool. And not being able to have multiple scripting scripting windows, or not scripting, having like a scripting window and a dialogue editor up at the same time drove me up the wall.
Yeah.
So that would be really nice to have.
Yeah, that'll make all of those Actually, I've heard that Neverwinter is actually used as curricula for various game design programs around the world.
So I mean, I can't speak really to anywhere other than here, but the University of Alberta actually has a game design certificate program that actually a couple of people in the studio,
I believe,
have gone
a few of our folks have graduated out of that program and
Yeah.
started out making Neverwinter mods.
which is fantastic. And I went through that, and I have that certificate too. And yeah, like a bunch of our classes were in Neverwinter, and it was kind of weird because I mean the engine is so old compared to some of the other stuff. Like
Yeah, I mean, Aurora is more modern than Infinity Engine, but it's a lot less modern than like Unreal 4 or something like that.
And I mean, we had a couple of classes where you could use Neverwinter or Unity, and I mean Unity is much more shiny and new. Oh no.
It's cool. We'll
Okay,
get there.
we'll deal with that bridge when we get to it. Can I try to pronounce that?
Give it a shot.
Pronounce that. Okay. You'll see.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, the university, it was really cool. But it sort of speaks to the power and flexibility of the Aurora engine that we were still using that in classes in 27 or no, hang on. When did I graduate? 2016. I think. Well,
I don't know. I graduated like 10 years before that.
Oh, okay. I don't know. It's all a blur.
There you go.
But yeah.
And so in the spirit of that, and this has sort of been a major focus of mine, especially since I joined over here, is to make modding and tools a lot easier to use for people. There are definitely some single-player improvements that need to be made, and those are also being worked on. I mean, there are people who are specialized in this side of things, and there are people who specialize in this side of things. But there's definitely a case to be made for modding and content creation tools being a lot easier to use for people so that more content can be made. And that's one of the major strengths of Neverwinter Nights that we really want to push for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love seeing, like, when we first launched, every day I would come in and refresh on the Steam Workshop page just to see what new wonderful things people would come up with.
Yeah, speaking of Steam Workshop, if you do have Neverwinter Nights and you weren't already familiar with it, we do have some character model and weapon model packs that we have uploaded from Beamdog.
The arts are so good.
They're very pretty.
So good.
Yeah, so that is an example, if you go and download those and take a look at them, of just how much you can visually change the look of this game. It can handle higher poly models. It just happened to be that devices were weak enough back when Neverwinter Nights originally came out that they had to be kind of blocky horror creatures.
You had 2 polygons.
Yep.
That's it. That's all you're allowed.
Yeah, so poly count has grown, and with that, the ability to put in prettier models. So we are slowly working on updating more and more of those kinds of things. So.
And I've seen screenshots.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're allowed to talk about that yet, but
there's some cool things happening.
There's some cool things coming, guys.
All right, another question. Let's see. In the past,
it's an IE one.
Yes, Infinity Engine stuff, and I'm sure that this is something that has that you have run into as well. So it says in the past, you have talked about pathfinding improvements, yes, but with the new patch, it introduced some new problems where characters are stacking upon one another. Is it possible to fix them?
Yeah, so we are aware of that. It's got a ticket on it. I think I've actually spotted a couple of tickets in the public trackers as well, so we will be linking those to the internal ones so that when it does get fixed, those tickets will also be updated to let you guys know when stuff is actually rolling out. We're aware. It's logged. We're looking into it. Pathfinding is
a beast in any game, to be honest. The pathfinding in the Infinity Engine games were always patchy at best.
Yeah.
And so there have been improvements made, but there were unforeseen consequences to some of the fixes that were made.
As with all things in IE.
As with all things.
We changed it so it didn't scan your documents folder so many times. And all of a sudden, you couldn't get out of Corlage's dungeon. What? Okay. Thanks, IE. This is great. You never know. Unintended consequences, I guess.
There are complications to making enhanced editions of old games.
Yep. Good times.
Yeah, we have a ticket for this. It's already logged, and we are actively looking into what we can do to fix it.
Okay.
Let's give away a t-shirt.
Okay, here we go.
Ready for it?
Yeah, I'm going to try. So, the t-shirt goes to...
All right. That's,
Azag Halazagahali. Actually, that wasn't so bad. So, for Julius, who is doing...
Azagalazagali.
That sounds like a bad guy in World of Warcraft. I think I've actually done a raid boss against him.
We'll get in touch with you. You won yourself a Neverwinter Nights t-shirt. I hope that you enjoy it.
Yeah, Julius, we will send you that name directly. I'm so sorry.
All right.
Yep. You won a t-shirt. Good job. Apparently I get to blame Christina for this one, so I'm going to do that.
Sounds good. You're her boss.
I am her boss.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
All right. Another question. Is there a soft ETA on the mobile port of presumably Neverwinter Nights?
Presumably.
Yes. We're hoping. Yeah. So, I mean.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions still to be answered. I'm hoping before the end of the year.
That would be...
That's a very soft ETA.
Very soft. I know they're still iterating pretty hard on like controls to make sure that it actually, feels good when you're playing it.
Well, that's one of the major reasons why we're focusing right now on UI. When you port a game that was originally on PC from much larger monitors down to something that does not have a precision pointer, then UI can become a huge pain. You guys win because it means that the UI becomes a lot more modular, where you can do inventory management and things like that with a touch screen interface. But in order to accomplish that, that requires us to iterate quite a bit.
Yep. And I mean, I have great faith. We did way back on Planescape when we were putting Planescape on the tablet.
Yep.
We did. I think at one point we sort of sat down, and I was the only tablet. Well, not the only tablet. I was one of the tablet testers, and we sort of sat down and went, "This UI is not working," and we redid the whole thing. And I'm not gonna lie, I prefer the Planescape tablet UI over just about anything right now. It is my favorite. But yeah, this is what we do.
Yep.
We make things.
We make things
We make
better.
things good.
Yes.
Also, Tarot 94, I will summon demons whenever I please. Don't you cramp my style.
All right, good stuff. Let's see. We have another question coming through. Will the character models / item models remain overrides, or will they be hard-coded into the game? I'm guessing you're talking about the new ones that we are rolling out into the Steam Workshop. So we are looking into that. As previously mentioned in many streams before, we recognize that there is an argument to be made for sweeping visual changes to the game and creating very cool extra content and making things optional. So right now they're in its most optional form, which is basically just downloadable workshop content. Depending on the final volume of the work that we can get out and how much of an effect that will have on older devices, my hope would be to release them as part of the game, but make them an optional item.
Yeah.
Especially for people with lower end devices that still, like you're running your laptop that still has Windows XP running on it, or Windows 7, and 32-bit or whatever. We don't want to put ourselves in a situation at any point where we release a version of Neverwinter Nights that suddenly no longer runs on the computer of somebody who's already bought the game.
So one of the other things is like backwards compatibility is obviously always going to be a concern. So like if hard coding the items back into the original campaigns would then break the original campaigns, probably not something we want to do.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And we're working on a variety of visual improvements to the game over time. Not all of them we can talk about right now, but in all cases, we're being cautious about how we implement them, and we want to make sure that, once again, if you already own the game but you're running it on an older device, we're not going to break that for you.
Yeah. Well, and especially coming onto Android.
Yes, especially coming onto Android, where it's akin to a device from 5-10 years ago in some cases. So.
In some cases, 20, depending on what processor they decide to put with that enormous screen. Android.
Yep.
Yeah. Shaking of fists. It's fun. It's fun. This is good times.
Yeah,
we love
absolutely.
it. What else? Do we have more questions?
Do we have any additional questions from the audience?
You guys need to ask more questions.
Will Beamdog incorporate Neverwinter Nights community patch fixes into the enhanced editions? Ooh. Well, community patches are an interesting topic, actually, for Neverwinter and for other games as well. If we are going to incorporate content of something that has been done by another person, we first need to get permission. We need to license that from them, essentially. So it's more complicated than that. Just going, hey, somebody created that. Let's steal it.
Yeah, that's not kosher.
That's not something that we. That's not something that we do. It's not something we would do.
No.
So yeah, if there are absolutely some things that we would like to include. And in the cases that we are going to be using something that is community made, we'll do that through the right channels.
There's a whole process. We went through it, again, going back to PST, because there were some fixed pack changes that did make it into PST, and that was a whole process of getting permission and making sure, like, we had an additional step on PST in that we basically had to run them past Chris Avalone as well.
Yep.
Which, I mean, in this case, I guess we just run them past Trent, which is significantly less hang time.
Sure.
But there's a whole process. We don't just
slam things
stuff it in there. Yeah. That's not okay.
Yeah, I mean, we want to make sure that every time that we do something here, we do it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't just take somebody else's content and put it in there, but we're confident. Yeah, exactly. We're confident that our community. Well, actually, in many cases, a lot of the people that work on Neverwinter Nights right now are members of the community who have created some amazing additional stuff for us. Niv, who basically owns Neverwinter Core right now, is
love you,
Niv. A longtime member of the community himself. So. Yeah.
Please continue being a rock star. Also, I hope your vacation was good. We have so much stuff for you to do now.
Yeah, Virus Man. Yeah, a lot of
also
our.
A good dude.
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, we have we are lucky in that we have a lot of amazing people that come from the community that understand these games, that don't need ramp up time. Hell, in some cases, can tell us about things we didn't know about the games that we make. So.
Yep, that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Will you be adding any new tile sets into Neverwinter Nights?
No, adding new tile sets into Neverwinter Nights. So, for the existing games, they use a very archaic system of tiles.
Yes.
Yeah. People who have gone into the Aurora Toolset are probably already familiar with this, but basically every tile that has like a prop on it, different shaped pieces and stuff like that, those are all rendered out as separate items, which is not a very modern way to do that.
No.
So, if we were to create new content, there's a chance that we would create some new tile sets to go with it. There has been some talk internally about if there is a good and and sensible way to improve existing tile sets without completely destroying all of the original content that's already been created, because changing the way that the tile sets work would like break all of these persistent world servers and stuff like that as well.
We really don't want to do that.
That would be a bad day
That would be
for a few
bad.
people. So yeah, we may look in, or we're thinking about if we can look into releasing additional stuff, but that's down the line.
And I mean, so that's actually probably going to be a question. We have a new art director.
Yep.
I don't know what his title is going to be.
Yep.
He's going to be coming in. I suspect that's going to be one of the big first questions.
That's going to be one of the big questions to answer.
Yep.
But that will also enable us to do a lot more cool things with art.
Yeah, which is really exciting. We have some very talented artists over here, and getting some of their stuff in game would be super cool.
Yeah, and Taro94 makes a good point there. Wouldn't creating new tile sets of high modern quality clash with old uglier ones. That's just that's the kind of thing that we also have to think about. We don't want to destroy the feel of playing the game where you walk out of like the one of the old parts of a module, and then all of a sudden everything looks completely different, like you were playing one of those games that step through various eras in video gaming history.
Break the immersion just a little bit.
Yeah. So if we do a little bit, we have to do a lot. Yeah. So that could take some time.
Yeah.
Let's give away another T-shirt.
So this one's going to Geeksplained.
Geeksplained. Now you will have another thing to Geeksplain to people.
Yep.
When you wear your Neverwinter T-shirt.
Yep.
Out in the open.
Yep. I have had to explain a couple of T-shirts.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
It's cool, Edmonton's a hip gaming culture in many cases, so.
In some places.
I am.
We've got some disagreement behind the screen. Apparently, Andrew doesn't think we're a hip, cool place to be. Ooh.
It's I am under the impression that in my apartment building there's like one or two BioWare folks.
Yeah.
It's like we'll be wearing shirts from like similar games, like just give each other the nod,
the nod,
on the elevator.
Yeah, I know what you've been through.
Yeah.
Oh, just pop the BioWare collar a little bit.
All right, what do we got here? Can Beamdog or the community make a Git repo of Neverwinter Nights scripts and 2DAs, maybe other stuff, so the community can fork it when making custom content? I guess that would be something that Niv would have to look into.
Maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. You're there, Niv. If you have an answer to that, that'll be answered in the chat, and I will see if I can catch it on its way through. But let's go to the next question, and we'll grab that if it comes in within the next 4 minutes. Any news about the enhanced edition of other D&D titles like Temple of Elemental Evil or Pool of Radiance?
No.
There is no specific news about that. As mentioned in last week's stream, we do have a extensive list of every Dungeons & Dragons game that's ever been released. It's beefy.
It's long.
There's a lot of stuff in there. And we love our D&D games. We've been lucky to get access to the Neverwinter and Infinity Engine titles. I think we've pretty much gotten all of those for D&D at this point. So like Temple of Elemental Evil or like a Pool of Radiance, those are new games on new engines that we would have to look into. So even if we touch those, there wouldn't be news about that for quite a while. So at the moment, we just really can't say.
No. I mean, Trent's stated a couple of times that like we do the games that we love, and we do the games that we know the code base for.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we actually have anybody on the team who ever worked on those. So that would present a pretty...
We would need to ramp up on something like that.
Yeah, that would be a pretty...
And of course, there's licensing concerns. Who owns it?
All the legal...
do we have permission to make a new version of it? And all of those things. We have a response from Niv on the previous question. I will restate the previous question. Can the community make a Git repo of Neverwinter Nights scripts or 2DAs so that the community can fork it when making content? Niv says, it sounds like a reasonable idea. Right now, you can do the same but need to extract stuff from the data files yourself. The trouble is drawing the line on what resources should be maintained in Git. So,
yeah,
there would be some standardization there.
Yeah.
So.
Like that might be a good Trello request.
Yep.
Maybe.
Okay, I got one on the chat that I would like to look at. Let's see. Phil had mentioned a contest for community custom content and some premium modules. Any news? I'll have to look into exactly what the context behind that one is. But yeah, because Neverwinter Nights is a game that is built on the shoulders of some amazing premium modules, we are looking into the creation of more stuff. You know, we would love to make Neverwinter Nights a testing ground for some amazing new content.
You can tell some really cool stories in Neverwinter.
Yeah.
And like that is what I think attracts a lot of people to the engine and to the game.
Yeah.
So the more we have of that, yay. So
the better
like
things are.
Yeah, there's been a lot of sort of handoff happening with Phil abandoning us. So there might be a little bit of hang time between stuff. If Phil has said something in the past or promised something in the past, please remind us, because we don't necessarily have documentation of everything that he's promised. So if it seems like something has fallen through the cracks, remind us. On the forums, on social media, wherever you want, Twitter, all those good things. I'm just going to push this firmly over into Lee's court. You're welcome, Lee. Also, Phil lies. Don't forget.
Do not believe his lies.
Yeah. Sneaking in one final question.
Oh my, we're going overtime.
Watch me. Would there be any way to create a tool set for the Infinity engine? Basically, a way to make areas using a locked-in orthographic camera and importing 3D models from a palette similar to the Neverwinter Nights tool set and then render the result.
So for creating models, refer to about half an hour to 40 minutes ago, we are releasing some of the tools that we created for Siege of Dragonspear. It would not turn into a full Aurora engine style tool set. Unfortunately, we just don't have the ability to do something like that. And I think a lot of the work that we did with Infinity Engine and just the way that Infinity Engine is built in general would make that just a little bit too much of a challenge to actually do. But looked like he died for a little bit when I saw the toolset question. Not quite. It's heartbreaking, right? Like I'm real mod focused. I would love to, for anything that I release, give people the ability to make it better their way, right? But yeah, that'd be a toughie, to be honest. But there are things that we can do.
Last I saw what needs to be done to render an IE area. RIP. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So probably no plans for that.
IE is content creation in Infinity Engine is heavy duty stuff. Yeah, it's something. If it was easy, we'd have made more.
Yep.
But I mean, that's not to say that rolls out anything in the future.
Yep. All right, Andrew is giving us punchy faces.
Yep.
So, there's the punchy face.
There's the punchy
we'll
face.
wrap up. All right.
So don't forget. Punch hands.
Yeah, the face punch hands. PAX West. We're gonna be there. Tune into the stream
tomorrow. We will be streaming from PAX West. It will not be Kristin and I. It will be the people at PAX West.
The people you actually probably came to see today.
Yes. So enjoy that. It's gonna be fantastic. And yeah, we'll see you there.
Yeah.
We won't.
Well, no.
But you'll see.
I'll be watching
Beamdog there.
though. It'll be good.
Have a
Great,
good one, guys.
All right. Bye.
Enjoy your weekend.